Hey guys, what's up? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and I want to review the Cammy figure from the Street Fighter line of Play Arts Kai from Series 2. It is a really nice figure, does have some of the same problems as the Chun-li figure, but overall it's really great and I do recommend it. I'll just get that out of the way right now. It's an awesome figure. If you're a Street Fighter fan, a Cammy fan, or just an awesome figure fan, you won't be disappointed with this figure. Let's talk about accessories first. She has this energy accessory. It's made for her feet. It has a foothold and a peg in there for her feet, which if you know Cammy, it makes sense. The only problem is you need to have her kicking in order to use it. And if she's kicking, you really need some kind of display stand to have her being held up, and they didn't give us one. So you need to come up with your own for that, so that's kind of a problem, but it's still a nice energy accessory nonetheless. And it's not too big of a deal to come up with your own flight stand out of a coat hanger or acrylic or anything like that. So not too big of a deal for me. No big deal. So that's cool. Nicely shaded. Even though it's a couple different pieces, they did a good job hiding that, so it looks good. You can kind of see the seam right there, but it still looks good. Okay, she has an alternate head. She's got the regular head right there, and then she has this head right here, which I probably wouldn't recommend using. I don't need to get into why. It's just kind of goofy looking. It's not really like a yelling face. It's more like a different type of face that I don't like. But you can swap out the hair. Obviously, they didn't give us two sets of hair. Those just peg in, as you can see. They are on the same type of ball joint as the wrists and elbows and ankles, so they have full posability. It would have been cool if they put the hair, or put some wire in the hair to make it bendable, so you can put it however you want. Because it's thin, they could have even made it a little more flexible, and with some wire and the posability at the base of the head, that would have been really cool. But they didn't do that. Not too big of a deal. It's still awesome. It's good sculpt work, and the posability is still nice from there. The hair on the face is really good. Since this part here is a separate piece, some of them aren't quite pushed in all the way and they're glued, but you can play with that and fix that if you want to, or just leave it. It's not too obvious. It's nice and soft, so it's not going to break unless you try. And the paintwork on the hat is very nice. The eyes look great. Everything looks good. She's got the scar there. Everything looks good. Now, as far as the paint goes everywhere else, the leg paint is pretty good. Here on the crotch area, it's kind of not so good. It just doesn't quite match with the rest of the green. And then up here there's a little bit of bleeding going on from the green onto her skin, so that's not the best. The skin paint on her forearm is not the same as the molded plastic / paint on the rest of the arm, so that's not the best either. Other than that though, the paint's pretty good. In her thong area, it's a little sloppy. So if you're going to pose her facing backwards, then you might want to touch that up or not pose her facing backwards. Just getting that out there since that's one of her victory poses. Okay, so she has the two heads. She of course has two sets of hands just like Akuma or any other one. She's got the two fist hands and the two open hands, which have individually sculpted fingers, so that's very nice. The nails are on there, not painted, but they are sculpted. And overall it looks really good. The sculpt work on this figure is very, very nice. The shoes, or the boots, have nice sculpt work, and they are painted. The laces look good. Everything's good there. Paint on the socks could be a little bit better, I suppose, but it's not too bad. As far as articulation goes, her head is on the same type of joint as any other Play Arts figure. Double ball bar joint right there. You're not going to get a huge range of motion out of it, just due to the sculpting, but you can get it pretty good. The forward and back is what's limited again for the most part. Side to side it's okay, and of course you have the rotation. She does have the movable neck. I don't think I mentioned that for Akuma, but it barely moves at all. The way it's inside that socket there, it's kind of useless, so they should have just sculpted that, I think. Shoulder joint, same as the other ones. She has that one that swings forward. Looks pretty good actually on the figure. The color's a bit off. It's a little bit pink, but not too much. And it doesn't look so bad on her because she's so slim anyway. It looks pretty good, and it's pretty effective. She has the pegged disc shoulder joint where it pegs into the inside there, so it spins on that, and then the disc lets the arm come forward and back, or side to side I guess. Then you have the bicep swivel at the top of the bicep and at the bottom of the bicep. The ratcheted elbow joint, it swivels at the forearm there, so it swivels there and at the bottom of the bicep, so plenty of motion there. Same thing for the wrist, it swivels at the forearm and at the hand, and is ratcheted. So that's pretty nice. Good range of motion. Both sets of hands work just fine. The open hands kind of have a little bit of a gap, but it's not too bad. Do be careful though, because she has those super tiny joint pegs that only connect on the one side, so be very careful when using those interchangeable hands. Upper torso, same as all the others. It's a barred ball joint, so plenty of range of motion there. Looks good really no matter how you pose it. It's pretty fluid looking. Same thing for the lower. Of course, the hips are floating and they're kind of big and bulky, so it doesn't look so good if you lean her forward, but it looks pretty good still, and it's pretty fluid no matter what you do. Great range of motion, pretty natural looking too. So very nice job with that. The thighs are connected on the ball joints in there, and then the thigh rotates on that as well, so it's kind of a dual joint. Plenty range of motion, really no problems there. Same problem with the knees as Chun-Li. She has no kneecap. I don't get that either, because if you look at Akuma, or same thing for Ryu, their kneecap shows, where the kneecap would be shows when the legs are straight. They didn't do that for the female figures. They have no kneecap piece at all, so that the legs only look good when they're fully extended. If you bend them at all, they just have that ugly joint in there. Now, it's not as noticeable on Cammy since her legs are a little bit smaller, but it is still kind of an ugly knee joint. You do get used to it once she's in a pose, but it just really could be better. If you only do the one part, it's not as bad, I guess, but it's still just, if they had a kneecap in there, this doesn't need to be sculpted on here. It could have been part of the knee joint so that it's always there and it always looks good. But either way, it's still not bad. As for the boots, they rotate at the top of the boot, actually inside the top of the boot where the sock goes. She has the same ankle joint as she has on her wrists and elbows, and then her foot, there's a peg that goes into the foot that allows it to rotate. Of course, I can't do it right now. There you go. Well, the wrong part's moving right now, but the foot does rotate at the bottom of the joint as well to give her some extra mobility. There you go, you can kind of see it on there. So plenty of range of motion. The soles are sculpted. It's a really great looking figure. The only real problem is you're gonna want to use a flight stand for her. And here comes the cat. Since she has the kicking accessory, energy accessory, you can't let me do a single review, can you? So if you're gonna want her to use that accessory, you're gonna need a flight stand. But otherwise, it's a really great figure, and it's definitely worth getting. So I do highly recommend it. I suggest you go buy the figure if you get the opportunity. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the rest of the videos, and in the meantime, keep collecting.